Hi, I'm Paul Duchesne and welcome to Mama Paul in the Kitchen. Today is Tuesday, March the 23rd, 2021. Today is Tuesday, and Tuesdays what I usually do is I fix most of my food that I'm going to use for the week on Tuesday. So I make a good portion of the fruit salad, which will last me half the week. I make the vegetable salad, I put that together, and in many cases that'll last me for a whole week. And I also put together the topping that I put on the salad. I'm out of everything today, so I've got everything right around me. I've got the ingredients for the fruit salad over here, the grapes and the berries. I've got the ingredients for the green part of the vegetables over here. I've got the hard vegetables over here. I've got the ingredients for the topping on my salad over here. If we have a time, we're going to try to put most of this together. But additionally, what I wanted to do, I wanted to make something with asparagus, because asparagus is in the paper every other bloody day today, this week rather. It's the vegetable of the season, and there have been 3 recipes in the paper so far. The local paper had a recipe for a raw asparagus salad, and there were 2 cooked asparagus salads dishes in the New York Times, one in the Sunday paper and one in the food section last week. And in one case they roasted the asparagus, in another case they boiled the asparagus, and on the salad they just left it raw and sliced it up. So I'm going to start today, like I said, the first meal of the day is my fruit salad. So we do a fruit salad in the morning, and it's a combination of grapes and berries and apples. Fruits that are good for me. I don't do good with a lot of acid fruits. I don't do good with oranges. I love oranges. I love acid fruits, but they're not really good on my system, so I don't incorporate them. If you live in a deserty environment, say, and you can't get a hold of all these berries and grapes like we can in Northern California, well, work with what you've got. If all you've got is an apple, well, go with an apple. There's an old expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. There's a lot to it. So if all you can get are apples and pears, have an apple every day. Have that as your first thing, and then an hour later, that's how long it takes to digest the enzymes that are in the fruits. Then have your next meal of the day. So I've had my little stone soaking in the water here for a little bit. I'm just going to give it a few swipes here. 15-degree angle, making a J formation is what the recommendation was. 15-degree angle between here and the blade. And we'll go the same way down. Now, if you've got more time to do this a little bit more than this, a few more slices than I'm doing certainly wouldn't hurt. I'm just doing this sort of just to get into the habit of actually doing it, which is something, this is just buffing the shreds that might have formed from the stone, and this is just buffing it up. It doesn't sharpen it, it just buffs it when you use the sword like that. Alright, so let's put the stone over here. And the salad is going to be really quick and easy to do, because all I do here is, I like seedless grapes, I really do. And a couple of weeks ago I made a fruit salad and I was cutting the grapes in half. Forget about it. That was a total overkill. It was nice that the grapes didn't have seeds in it, but I wouldn't spend that much time on it, I don't think ever again. So anyway, I use a bunch of grapes. And then I've got 3 packages here, and everything's organic. If I can't get organic, I'll use a substitute, but if I can get organic, in almost all cases I will. And you might notice the book over here on the side, Genetic Roulette. And that's a book by Jeffrey Smith about GMO'S, genetically modified organisms. And I've studied with Jeffrey, I've read the book through. At one point I was I was certified to go out and talk to people about it, but it never happened for some complicated reasons behind it. So anyway, I got raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, grapes, 1, 2, 3, 3 berries, 1 grape, and then I like to put a little bit of apple in, or a pear. But the magic number, for some reason, in the world of cooking is 5. So people are adding ingredients, they frequently put 5 of an ingredient, and I'm sure it's complete hockey puck. and it's meaningless, but maybe it isn't. It's something I picked up a long time ago working with some more professional people in the kitchen, and it's just one of those grandma told me habits that you keep with you sometimes for the rest of your life, and in my case for the rest of my life. So that's it. Over here, and then what I'll do is I'll put this in a larger bowl, and I'll cover this up with a little bit of plastic. Whenever you're filling something up with any vegetables or fruits or anything like that in it, and you're in a container, put a little, put something cloth-wise under it, and then you can shake them, and it'll always go down. I'm going to cover that with plastic, put this in the refrigerator, and I'll take maybe 25% of it out tomorrow, the same thing. So this will last me for 4 days. That's the fruit salad first thing in the morning, and we're ready to go then for the next meal. And the next meal is going to be, we're going to have a salad and maybe a little vegetable on the side, along with the eggs or piece of chicken or fish. I eat a lot of fish, I eat a lot of chicken, and I eat a lot of eggs. So I'm not lacking for protein, that's for sure. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to do the asparagus. So like I said, there were 3 articles in the paper recently. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start the asparagus so it gets it out of the way, and what we're going to do is I'm going to roast it. They had the salad raw. I don't want the asparagus raw, that's for sure. And they were boiling it and then saving some of the runoff water and using that to make a little mustard dressing. A lot of good ideas here. But when I read through the whole thing, at the end of the day, you basically wanted to cook the asparagus, and then you wanted to mask it a little bit with a variety of sauces that they had, and most of them were centered around lemons or mustards. So in this case, all I'm going to do, so you look for, you want to get, you can feel where it is right here, the hard part of the stem. Now if you really are interested in using the stemmy parts, you can overcook the stems and add sauteed leeks, and that gives you a nice dish also. So I'm just going to get rid of all the bottom stems on here, and we're going to place these on a sheet, and I'm going to put them, oops, I dropped one, should clean it off, okay. And I'm going to put it on a baking sheet and let these roast in the toaster oven for about 8 minutes. And after these roast, we're going to add a little olive oil, maybe a little lemon. I could put some sesame seeds on it. It's a half a dozen little additions that they do to the asparagus, but I've said before, I'm not great on following recipes. I do things to my own taste. So in this case, I will bake these, and I said olive oil, lemon. I don't have any. If I had some thyme in the house, the herb thyme, I would use it, but I just gave a whole package away to my son, who likes thyme a lot. So I'm going to put this in the toaster oven, and we'll set this up, say at 320 for, let's go with 10 minutes. We'll see what that looks like. So we got the asparagus cooking. Hopefully that'll be a little side dish we might be able to have in addition to the salad and the mushroom dish that I make every week. So the mushroom dish I make, this is sort of interesting what we're going to do this week. We're going to use Escarole. Now I'm going to turn the flame on over here, and we'll get the water going for the Escarole. And then we're going to get the, okay. So I sort of pre-boiled this a little. It won't take too long to bring it on up. And then we'll get a little frying pan going on the side there. Now I've been making this mushroom dish, and I've shown you some of these medicinal mushrooms that I've been using. And this week, for the first time, we ran into actually lion's mane mushrooms. Lion's mane mushrooms. And they're certified organic, CCOF certified organic. And these were made in these were grown in Moss Landing, California. That's down the coast north of Santa Cruz. But look at these mushrooms. These are really unique looking. Look at these. They look like little heads of cauliflower. They're real soft. They have a sort of lightness to them. I've never actually had these before, but they're real little fuzzy. In fact, let me bring the camera in, maybe a little closer on these. Whoops, here we go. Can you see that a little bit better? That's bringing the camera all the way in on those. Okay, we'll go back to normal down here, get the book in. I've got the book Genetic Roulette here because I wanted to talk a little bit about GMOs if we get a chance, because they're in the news a little bit today. So we'll get the chopping block out over here, and we'll cut up the mushrooms, and we will, as soon as I get my hand on the knife, where did I put the knife? All right. So there aren't a lot of really big, sometimes some of the mushrooms you'll find, you'll pick them up and you'll see a little bit of sawdust on the stemmy part of it where they took it off. They usually grow on these tall columns that have sawdust or some kind of wood chippings, and they grow off that. So a lot of times you'll get them, they'll be a little bit dirty like that. So I am not gonna, well, you could break them into the nice little perfect little main pieces, but mostly I'm just gonna sort of dice them out a little bit and get them into a smaller shape. And then I'm gonna put a little, I will use butter. Oh, that was I'm gonna use butter and a little bit of my cooking oil combination. And I like to get things bite-sized. I'm not really, like the Japanese, when you go to a Japanese restaurant where they're cooking right in front of you, everything is cooked to bite-size, because when you get the plate, you want to pick up your food and eat it. You don't want to sit there and be chopping away and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, so let's get some butter. Get a nice little chunk of butter in the frying pan. And back to the camera again, excuse me. Like I said, this kitchen, this wasn't the best designed kitchen, so I'm working with what you got. That's what you got to do. You got to work with what you got. So we're just going to get these into the saute pan, and we'll start to, my water's boiling in back of me. Now, the green vegetable I'm going to use today, and this is what was interesting. I did something similar last week also, not on the show here at home. I usually buy kale or chard or a couple of these big leafy green vegetables. And I also use some really bitter greens in my salads. Well, this week I bought a head of escarole. Escarole looks like lettuce. Now I will add some of this to my salad for sure. I'm going to get rid of a couple of outer leaves because I've had it out a bit and it's a little bit, they're a little limp. So I'm going to take maybe a couple of leaves over here. I'm going to take a couple of these off, and I'm going to use these in my salad, which I'm going to make a little bit later. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the escarole and cook the escarole and add it to the mushroom dish. Last week I had some frisée left over, that other real leafy green vegetable. I use that with some mushrooms. So I don't use the same thing every week, and I try to get something that's, like I said, seasonal, current, and looks good. And this escarole was a showstopper when I was into the store. Now, escarole is really interesting. Escarole is part of the chicory family. And I don't have a lot left over. I have a tiny bit. And this is the tiny bit, the little purple leafy thing. It started off a few weeks ago, like long, tubular. Well, this is all I've got left, tiny bit left. And this is all purple, and it's very different than this, but they're both in the chicory family. And what this means is they're loaded with nutrients. So they're, very few calories, hardly any fat, a little bit of protein, and a lot of really good vitamins for you, including, well, I even looked these up here, A, K, C, iron, zinc, copper, good for metabolism, improving your red and white blood cells, and amazing some of the benefits from some of these vegetables. The lion's mane, known as anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, dementia, anxiety, depression, a nerve disease, lowers risk of heart disease, ulcers. Usually I don't get into the specifics of all these different vegetables. The point is, bitters are really good for you. Mixing a lot of these things together is really nutritionally advantageous. So we got the mushrooms started, and we'll add a little bit of the cooking oil, which is my combination of sesame and coconut. I've talked about it in the past. They're both high temperature oils. They neutralize each other, the flavors, so it comes out as more of a neutrally flavored oil. But you can cook things to a high temperature with it. So we'll get the lion's manes. They're roasting up here a little bit too much, too high a flame. And they don't seem to be cooking down as much as the other mushrooms that I usually cook with. So I'm going to take this and put this in the boiling water, is what we're going to do. Put this in the boiling water. We're basically going to blanch it. So I've had this water boiling. Now come over here. Oh, the color comes up just absolutely gorgeously on it. Whoa, can you see that? Look at the colors on there coming out. I'm going to keep the water because I might use the second half. I only cut half of that. And we'll see whether that was enough. Okay. And as I mentioned, the other thing I add to my little mixture is the turmeric, which I grate. So I buy whole turmeric every week or every 2 weeks. It looks a little bit like ginger. I'll grate that with some black pepper. You need black pepper to activate the nutraceuticals that are in this. Okay, so we got these going. And well, let's just dice this up. We'll see if it's enough. I have a funny feeling I'm going to need the other half of, in fact I can see it right now, I'm definitely going to need the other half. You want to be buying organic vegetables. You don't want to be using genetically modified organisms. A lot of what you find in the commercial store has been GMO modified. And Jeffrey Smith wrote this book quite a while ago, over 10 years ago. He's been on television on a few shows. Colbert had him on one night. And he's talked about the problems with genetically modified food. And there are lots of problems which have pretty much gone unreported because none of the studies were ever, any of the studies that were done by Cargill or Monsanto to prove that there wasn't a problem with them. And once you pay a nutritional scientist enough money, they will say anything. And over the years, that's what happened. They kept poo-pooing the genetically modified food. But originally, in England, when they first did studies on the genetically modified food, there was a severe negative reaction. And the doctor that wrote the report was gag-mouthed for over a year, gag-mouthed. And he couldn't say anything. His career went down the tubes. By the time the year was up, he started to talk about what he had encountered. But by then, it was already too late. So once the cat is out of the bag, it's hard to put it back in. So over the years, Monsanto has succeeded in deterring the scientific studies that have shown the negative effects of genetically modified foods. And they are quite a few, to say the least. Okay, so we got half of that head in there, a little bit of those mushrooms in there. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of the turmeric right now, and then we'll clean the board for the salad. So we grind this up. The genetically modified food has been known to cause various cancers, birth defects, a lot of birth defects, serious problems with kidneys, liver problems. What they do is, to make the corn resistant, what they do is they want to make it resistant to the herbicide that they're selling them. So they they break into the structure of the cell. They violently and chemically break into that cell. And when they do that, there's a lot of unintended consequences to that. And they do that to make they want to sell them the Roundup, so they make the seed Roundup ready. That's a good one. So now it's ready for them to spray Roundup on it. It's resistant to the Roundup. Kills everything else. So over time, your fields are getting nutritionally starved, to say the least. And not good, not good. All right, we have the turmeric, and I'm going to put in a little bit of black pepper. Black pepper. Black pepper. You always want to grind pepper fresh. I've said this a few times. If you had pepper in a pepper mill that was cooked a year ago, that was in that mill for a long time, as soon as you grind the pepper, it starts to oxidize and it loses its nutritional value. So pepper that was previously ground in a shaker is deleterious and causes an irritation to the lining, which will get cured with whole pepper because the oils in it are fresh. So everything's all sort of mixed together here. The mushrooms have definitely cooked down enough. And this dish is going to be a little bit more, say, chicory or endive centric, escarole centric than I usually do. Sometimes they're more mushroom centric. This one will be more green centric. But in either case, nutritionally, this is a storehouse of incredibly powerful foods, which everything from dementia to ulcers to metabolism to increasing your supply of red and white blood cells. Well, that's it. The dish is done. Let's take a little. Oh. Wow. Oh. Those lion mane mushrooms. What a combination. That worked out really well. I didn't know how that was going to work out. I honest to God did not know how that was going to work out, but to tell you the truth, it's absolutely delicious. Has a slightly sweet flavor to it. God, wow. Terrific. The asparagus. All right, the asparagus are in here, and the asparagus are definitely not done. I had the temperature at 325. That didn't work. I'm going to put it back in for another, let's put it back down to 320, and I'll put it in for, say, another 9 minutes. Tasty, but a little bit undercooked, too much on the raw side. All right, so the last thing I put together is the green part of the salad, and I'm not going to be able to do the dressing today. I can see that, and maybe we took on a little bit too much, which I've been known to do in the past and in the present. So the main things I do. Now this is interesting. I complained about this a couple of weeks ago, that the greens have all gotten into these plastic containers. And there was a news story on just a few nights ago about how these plastic containers are not recyclable. They showed this whole supermarket shelf, and I thought they were talking about Organic Girl, but maybe they weren't. Now, I don't like all this plastic. Not happy with this at all. Having said that, this is #1 and all made from recycled plastic. So this particular brand appears, which is all organic, appears to be using the right plastics. So this is made from organic plastics, and it's 100% #1 recyclable. So I'll take a big chunk of that, nice big, almost half the container. This may last me, I hope it lasts me the whole week, but it depends on what I have with it, etc. I'm going to take half of the sunflower sprouts, and I'll put all the rest of this in with the rest of the salad. So we'll use this later in the week when I make a second batch of this. So that's most of the salad, are these light, pleasant tasting greens with the sunflower sprout, which are also quite tasty. So I'm going to add a little bit of this is the dandelion. Now my son was just here, and he was going to make himself some dandelion tea. And he said, do you use dandelion? I said, sure, I use dandelion. I use it every week. And I put it into my salad. So dandelion is very bitter, and the more bitter it is, apparently, if you start to look things up, the more nutritional value there is, especially in the vitamins and minerals, and the zinc, the copper, the iron. So I'll put a little shot of that in. At the end of the day, when I have this salad, it is not going to taste bitter. I am going to put a little bit, I will finish this little radicchio up. And I always like this just because of color. I always like to add a little bit of color to what I'm doing, because it always improves if food looks good, it helps you digest it better. No doubt about it. If you like what you're eating and you're excited about it and you think it looks good and it stimulates your visual senses, it will stimulate your digestive senses at the same time. So we have baby spinach, mixed lettuces, the escarole, radicchio, and the sunflower sprout. So that's 5. Once again, 5. And one of the reasons I really prefer the vegetable knives is, with the blunt end like this, they're a much more useful tool to have in the kitchen, I find, personally. Okay, so that's pretty much the green part of the salad. And it's almost 30 minutes, so I don't want to go too far over. Before I finish in the kitchen today, and I'm going to finish up right now, and I'll tell you why I'm going to finish up also. It's almost 6 o'clock, and Jack Cornfield is going to be on a City Arts and Lecture talk tonight with Larry Brilliant, who is quite an interesting guy from the East Bay. And I signed up for the lecture tonight. It's going to be at, well, like I said, in about 10 minutes. It's going to start in about 10 minutes. And I sent an email to Jack Cornfield, asking him to respond to the Harper's article. There was an article about meditation in Harper's Magazine this month, which talked about people having some psychotic breaks that were at meditation retreats that I have been attending for over 20 years. And I sort of have a hit on what's happening here. Some people aren't either ready for the retreat, or they bring a lot of dark things with them, or they wind up entering realms within the universe that they didn't want to get to, and because of who they are or where they came from, something can happen. But myself, having attended dozens of retreats over a 20-some-odd year period, have never encountered a serious psychic problem. I have seen 2 people maybe who have, and they were cared for properly. The article sort of gave a down poo-poo to the whole system, and for that reason I asked Jack if he would respond to it on the show. I don't know if he's going to or not. He sort of gave me a more generic answer. So it's almost 30 minutes. I'm going to cut these up. These are going to be my hard vegetables, my green vegetables. Then I'm going to make my salad mix with the kale crunch and the various herbs I use over here. And if I take the asparagus out, which, I am going to take this, I'm going to take the asparagus, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little olive oil, lemon. I'm going to put some black sesame seeds on these also. And I think that might be it. I might put a little garlic. I'm going to do a little chopped garlic on this. I'm going to get some fresh chopped garlic. I don't do a lot of garlic, but I do a little bit of garlic. So the olive oil, garlic, maybe black sesame seeds, and that could be dinner. The dinner literally could be the salad, these vegetables over here, with the mushrooms and the escarole and the asparagus. And it would be a vegetarian meal, which I don't normally eat. I generally eat some hardcore protein. But tonight, maybe we'll have an asparagus meal, and that'll be it. All right, thanks for joining in today. And peace, patience, persistence, and we'll see you as soon as we can. Thank you. Thanks for joining me today.